Making Chicken Salad this week is brought to you by 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy. Are you in Brisbane and thought about learning to be a wrestler? Well, here's your chance. 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy are based out of Beenleigh in Queensland, and they're committed to teaching the best, safest way to learn the art of professional wrestling. Hit up their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email admin at 3countfitness.com now to register your interest, and we thank them so much for supporting the show.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit, and you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast, where we talk about all things going on in the world of international wrestling. I am 5.75 stars at the Tokyo Dome, Lachlan Albert, and I'm joined by, released yet again, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
Why do I? Well, at least it's Samoa Joe. At least it's that.
We've got a whole lot to talk about today. We were just saying that our run sheet is chock full, so we are going to get right into it. There have been more WWE releases, the first for the year 2022. Let's go through the list. William Regal, Road Dogg, Timothy Thatcher, Danny Burch, Hideki Suzuki, Kathy Carino, Dave Kapoor, aka Ranjan Singh, Scott Armstrong, George Carroll, Ryan Katz, Chris Guy, aka Ace Steel, Gabe Spolowski, and Samoa Joe.
Sapolsky.
I can never say that name. Gabe Sapolsky and Samoa Joe. So biggest ones there, we've got Samoa Joe, released for the second time. Reports saying that he is in ring shape, ready to go. We got William Regal, after a very long stint doing talent stuff and being the general manager of NXT. We've got Road Dogg, after being a very long-term producer, running SmackDown, if memory serves. And Timothy Thatcher would be the next biggest one, who's had, you know, some recent stuff on NXT. Then there's just a lot of other names, ones that, you know, you haven't heard in a long time, like Scott Armstrong. You know, that it's almost strange that they're picking these people to get released who I thought that the jobs that they were doing must have been so essential that they're just behind the scenes getting them done. You know, Very interesting. What do you make of these ones?
I think I put it on my Twitter a couple of days ago. I think this is a very pointed attempt by either Nick Khan or Vince himself or someone like that to take all the guys that were quote unquote Hunter's guys. Because there was a big rumor that Hunter, this whole thing in NXT was Hunter getting his team together ready for when he, or if he eventually had to take over the main job, if Vince decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. So if I'm someone like Nick Khan, what would I do is I would try and weaken as much of his power base as possible. What's the best way to do it? Get rid of Regal, get rid of Road Dogg, get rid of Scott Armstrong, get rid of Gabe Sapolsky. For those of you that don't know, Gabe Sapolsky is one of the guys who originally started Ring of Honor. He's big behind, he was the whole thing behind Evolve Wrestling. That's all Gabe. So you're taking someone like that away from him and just getting rid of someone like that. And the Samoa Joe one is so very pointed because Triple H went out of his way to bring him back when he got released not too long ago. Now, I understand the whole thing about like releasing him because maybe he's injury prone, because I mean, you can't really argue for the fact that that's the last couple of years have been very injury heavy for Joe. But like trained like Timothy Thatcher, Danny Burch, Suzuki, Kathy Carino had only just moved to Florida to help with the training and all that. They were all behind the scenes trainers. Now, I know that that's what Thatcher and that had moved into doing, like training behind the scenes. Ace Steel trained CM Punk. Big part of training with Adam Pearce. That's the pedigree of that dude. It just seems to me very, very pointed. The guys that got released. It's very heavy, like it said in the thing. It's very heavy NXT related, but very like Hunter related.
Yeah, let's talk the WWE statement that they made. Quote, with the continued evolution of NXT 2.0, we've decided to part ways with some of the staff based in our performance center. We thank them for their many contributions throughout the years and wish them the best. Also, another news story that this links into, which we haven't got on here, but I do want to mention, is a quote from Freddie Prinze Jr., who came out and said, quote, I haven't said this before, but I'll say it now because it has been long enough. I was talking to a dude who was interviewing to be their COO, or they wanted to interview. They ended up going with Nick Khan. He had passed, but he wanted to talk to me about the company. So we were just talking about the brand and all this. And he goes, yeah, they wanted us to buy the whole product. He's an exec at Fox. He goes, they wanted us to buy the whole brand, but the number they wanted wasn't a number we were going to pay. So we licensed SmackDown instead. So this is connected to all those stories we were hearing about previous releases being tied to budget cuts for a potential company sale. It sounds like, at least according to this person that Freddie Prinze Jr. was apparently talking to, that WWE wanted to sell to Fox, and Fox's response was that number's too high. So that's very interesting information if true. But it comes on the back of these just add to a very big list of releases. WWE is a much smaller company than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I'm still very suspicious about these guys. I think that they couldn't release Sean, because if they'd released Sean, it would have been a very big like symbol that's what it was. So they released everybody else around him, and it's when Triple H really isn't back on doing a full-time thing at the moment. I don't know. I'm actually not too sure what he is doing where it comes to work-wise after coming back from the operation, all of that stuff. But that would be the perfect time to do all this stuff where he can't actually stick up for any of these people and fight for them to keep their jobs. So it's a shame, because a lot of them, like AEW, will really enjoy having William Regal on their books.
Oh, yeah.
It's simple as that. That's going to be their loss. They'll hire all these other guys. Like I can see him hiring someone like a Timothy Thatcher easily. Ryan Katz is more behind the scenes, same with Gabe Sapolsky. I can't see Gabe Sapolsky going there because I just don't know what they do with him there. But I can see them using someone like a Ryan Katz if Tony ever wanted to help with like writing, and that's because that was big part of the whole Black and Gold brand was like Ryan Katz and Dave Kapoor writing a lot of that stuff. So,
do you think we see Joe Punk 4?
I can't imagine we wouldn't. Like is the way it is, the way that thing seems to, Tony Khan seems to enjoy those guys. I can't see that you wouldn't sign him. My only reservation would be just injury. I would be so very hesitant to invest in Joe. And this is nothing against Joe. Amazing worker, amazing. But if I'm a businessman, I'm like, well, this dude was out for what, nearly 2 years? Came back, had one match, and then was out again for another 6 months. I'd really want to know what he's like.
Let's look at the flip side. Let's take the early criticism of AEW from, existing fans of WWE who dismissed it as a t-shirt company. They sell a lot of t-shirts. Does paying to get Joe on the books, have him come out and do a big promo, does that sell enough shirts to make him worthwhile?
I don't know. Honestly, it depends how much they're paying.
But yeah,
I don't know. Like they're going to sign him.
It's so up in the air with these releases.
They're going to sign him. There's no way they won't sign him. It's just they've got too many people already. They have. I know I'm talking about a company that is 2 years old, but they've got too many people. And I know that there are some people that are like Jay Lethal is problematic about certain things that happened, but he had one match on, I think it was Rampage, it wasn't even Dynamite, and I haven't seen him since. And that was a big signing for them. There was the guy that was an ROH world champion, very much always in that world title picture for them. Come in, did one match against Sammy Guevara, and then I don't think I've seen him very much at all. I think he was a lumberjack on one of those matches. So I don't know what they're doing for these like young up and coming guys. Like it seems to me what they do is they sign someone, they go, here's a big match for you right now, bang. Okay, off you go to dark. Like Jake Atlas, prime example. I could not imagine seeing Jake Atlas week to week on someone like a Dynamite or a Rampage, but he'll be on dark a lot. And well, not now because he's injured at the moment, but I couldn't see him. Like I can't see what they will do that would be better than what he was happening to him in NXT.
Does someone like Jake Atlas benefit from the guidance of someone like Samoa Joe or William Regal being on the books more than they suffer from competing for TV time?
It depends what their roles are. Depends what William Regal's role is. Like, if you brought him in, you would think that you would make him something like the head trainer or something there. You wouldn't make him just a regular agent. I couldn't see that anyway. I can't see why would you bring someone with that much wealth of experience, that much wealth of just talent, and then put him like you can do the third match every show. We need you to agent that. You know what I mean? I can't see them. I can't see the sense in doing that. It's just I see how many people they have right now, and I just don't see them. I don't see how they can put all these people on. I just don't.
And unfortunately, that's the conversation we've been happening since we've been doing this podcast. We've been having this conversation. AEW has too many bodies, and young, talented wrestlers are missing out because they're not getting TV time. They're not getting time to show off what they can do. Like, I remember one of the first episodes we did of this podcast, we talked about the controversy about Brian Cage saying that he wasn't getting shown off on AEW. When's the last time you saw Brian Cage?
Yeah.
There's a perfect example, right? He's gone. He's on dark. That's where he is.
And there's like, I saw a news item that they said that, and it's not being widely reported, but the Marco Stunt's contract is coming up and they won't renew that. So that's just what they do is they'll sign guys for a certain amount of time and then just quietly let their contract expire. Instead of cutting them and giving them the 90 days and all that, they'll just pay it out. And because when you don't have stockholders and you don't have all of that sort of stuff, you can do that, I guess. You can just pay them out. And when you've got Daddy
Khan's money.
Yeah, well, when you don't have, because as much as we talk about how evil the WWE, or people talk about how evil the WWE is and how ruthless Vince is, at the end of the day, he has stockholders. He has, like, it's not his company. He owns the majority stock in it, but he's got to answer to various stockholders in all these meetings, these stockholder meetings that you see. So he has to, like, go, if they say, why have you got this many people on your fucking your talent roster when you're not using? So that's why all these cuts are happening now, I would assume. Even though they're making record profits, you could be making record profits, but if there's still places where you can cut, then as a responsible business owner, you would cut them to raise your profits more.
Not only that, and I could be wrong here, if someone has more legal knowledge than me, let me know. But my understanding of US law is that it is illegal to not attempt to maximize profit for your shareholders. Like, you have a legal obligation to cut the costs so that shareholders make as much money as possible. That's not something that you want to do. That's something you legally have to do, or it's a crime. So that's what it comes down to, the business.
Yeah, anyway, I wonder if that plays into it. Yeah, I don't know. But
so let's start talking about some results as well.
I can't see a lot.
We'll move on to.
Yeah, just before we do, like, I can't see a lot of these guys, aside from your Samoa Joes, maybe a William Regal. I can't see a lot of them, like, making a huge impact anywhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's talk about New Year's Evil. NXT New Year's Evil happened, and it had some matches. Yep. It started with an absolute banger, actually, which was Carmelo Hayes beating Roderick Strong to unify the North American and Cruiserweight championships. I think that's probably a good move. I don't think that either of those belts were really where they needed to be. And I think NXT was probably in a one too many belts situation with a primary male belt, a primary female belt, a male tag, a female tag, and then 2 secondary male titles for a developmental show is too many.
Yeah.
I think unifying these was a good call. And it was an excellent performance by Carmelo Hayes, really showing that he has the chops to be a champion. Roderick Strong is always good. Loved having the diamond mine around the ring. I thought this was great. Opinions?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Really, really good opening match. I was actually watching it going, why didn't I, because I didn't get to watch it like day of. I was like, why didn't I hear more about this match? Because it was a really good match.
It was awesome.
We can move on.
Yeah. So after that, there was a confrontation between Aussie export Grayson Waller and AJ Styles, where AJ came out to say that Grayson didn't respect NXT. Grayson Waller came out to say that he was in AJ Styles' head. Styles challenged Waller. Waller said, "Nah, main event next week." So we're getting an NXT main event of AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller. It's always good to see the Aussie guys in a good position, and doesn't come much bigger than main eventing a show with AJ Styles.
Thing is, too, it reminds me of the old days of NXT where you would see the main roster guys come in and do a match. Like Cesaro used to
We're talking back. The proper old days.
Yeah. Cesaro would come back and do a match against like Neville back in the day, and then that sort of thing. I hope they go more with
Cesaro and Sami Zayn was one of the first really great feuds in NXT. They did a whole, 2 out of 3 falls in that was incredible.
Yeah, I hope they do more with it. I mean, they did it again, like on this show with Riddle. Like, I hope they'll do more of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, speaking of Riddle, Riddle was teaming with MSK after being revealed as the Shaman and led them to victory against Imperium, the tag team being led by Volta.
Rumor is true that this was Walter's last match, either for NXT or no, definitely NXT UK is done. So I don't know if he's moving to NXT or if he's moving to the main roster. But he is apparently going to be based in North America really soon.
Well, I was actually going to say, I can't get over how much I love Walter, and you just don't see him enough. No. Because if you're not going out of your way to tune into NXT UK, you're not seeing him, and he is such a presence. If we see him in the Royal Rumble, and if that's a main roster debut, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. We know about Riddle, we know about MSK, we know about Imperium as a tag team. I don't think there was anything hugely unexpected in this match. MSK and Riddle were really exciting. Imperium really showed solid ring work. It was a good 6-man match.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely.
Moving on, we had a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship. Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez both failed to take the title from champion Mandy Rose. Almost bigger than the match was the entrance, in which Mandy Rose arrived to the arena in a helicopter. Cora Jade rode a skateboard to the ring, and Raquel Gonzalez had a big old motorcycle. So I saw someone say that they each get transport that matches the size of their experience. But yeah, this was fine. Cora Jade is green, really green. Raquel has been doing great work recently, but is still learning. She's good for the stage she's at. Mandy has really come into her own in this character, I think. But yeah, I don't think this was a standout match, but I also don't think it was bad.
No, it's exactly right. It was a match. Yeah. If anything, it told me that sort of maybe Raquel Gonzalez, it's time for her to move up. If you know what I mean, it's time for her to take that leap up to the main roster.
I agree. I think she's still got growing to do, but I don't think it's the kind of growing that she needs to be in NXT for.
No, that's exactly right.
After this, we had a segment where Andre Chase came out for some teachable lessons, was going to give a scholarship to a fan that saved him, but Von Wagner came out and attacked the university students and was escorted off the premises. That is what it is. Was there something here I'm missing?
I thought Andre Chase was a heel.
Me too.
But now he's a good guy that has a following of his university students that all love him. And Von Wagner, who I thought was supposed to be a good guy, because he got attacked at the end of that Kyle O'Reilly match, and then maybe went a bit off brand by like slamming Kyle O'Reilly's face in the cage with the heel turn. But it's sort of like they just did a full, right, you can just be a full-on heel now, and we'll just, like, I don't see, like, I see all these reports that Vince thinks that he is a future WrestleMania main eventer, but like he looks Cro-Magnon when I look at him.
He does.
It's just, I don't see it, to be honest with you, and I don't like.
He's also one of those guys that the voice doesn't match the body. It's like, where is that coming from?
He cut a promo, and my wife was like, "What is it with wrestlers with speech impediments?" I was like, "What?" And then she, like, I listened to him more and said he does. He's got that Jack Swagger thing.
Yep.
Where it's like his tongue is too big for his mouth. I was like, I didn't even notice that before, but now you've pointed it out. It's all I'm going to hear when he talks. But yeah, I don't
every
find him
time.
Yes,
every time I hear Von Wagner's name, the picture that comes up in my head, and this is going to be a weird pull, but do you remember Van Hammer from WCW?
Yeah, I do.
That's who I picture when I hear Von Wagner. I can't separate Von Wagner and Van Hammer.
I hear Von Wagner, and I think he's like a cast member from Bonanza. And Von Wagner as Little Joe Cartwright. That's all I hear. That's all I see.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the low light of the show for me. I don't get it.
No, I didn't get it at all.
I don't know what it was here for.
I don't care about Andre Chase, so why would I care that Von Wagner's coming in and kicking his ass?
I'm ready to like Andre Chase. I'm ready for him to be a doofy face. You know, I think that having a face who's kind of a weak idiot for big bad heels to beat up on, but you love them anyway, is a spot that more wrestling shows need. Yeah, I think he'd fit it perfectly as like this guy who wants to get his little junky university off the ground. I think that'd be great fun. And then when you need someone to look like a beast, they just come in and rip him to shreds. I think that could work.
Question
to be clearer if that's what they're going for.
Question before we get to the main event. Where are you now on Joe Gacy? Because he's moved to sort of more of a manager.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Fire him up.
Here we go. So,
pull the string. Watch him talk.
This was by far, not even close, my favorite Joe Gacy segment that I have ever seen. Not even close.
Yeah, only YouTube will have seen that reaction.
That was a legit spit take from Todd. Yeah, no. They put him in a position where they're going for the Dusty Tag Team Classic, and they're putting, help me remember what's his name, one name.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. It's killing me.
Old mate, one name.
Parker Boudreaux is his real name. Haaland.
Yeah. Haaland, thank you. But they put him in a position where Haaland is his tag team partner, but Haaland is clearly the muscle. And Joe is speaking in these terms, speaking in terms of like, you know, acceptance and privilege to justify the absolute beatings that Haaland is going to do. Right? And when it was Joe Gacy doing it for Joe Gacy, there was a disconnect there. Now that Joe Gacy he's still going to beat you up, but really he's the mouthpiece for the monster and he's justifying the monster's antics. Now it's a heel gimmick I'm getting into. Was a really big fan of this and actually forgot that it was there, but I did want to talk about it. I thought it was a really cool little segment where, yeah, he basically said, we're healing Haaland. We need to accept Haaland for who he is by letting him tear people to shreds. I thought that was super cool.
Right. See, I told you you'd come around, but you wouldn't listen to me.
You once again, Todd was right.
Oh, feels so good
But
when you say it.
There needed to be that little change for me, and just that little pivot of direction is all it needed. Now I'm on board.
Okay, well, we can move to the main event.
The main event. We have a new NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa, defeated by Bron Breakker by submission using the Steiner recliner. Big news story coming out of this, or the big moment everyone's talking about, is Bron Breakker's entrance involved kicking in half a big gold X from the original NXT logo, breaking through it before Ciampa came out, signaling kind of that real proper destruction of the original NXT. Every time I see Bron Breakker, I like him a little more. I was never against him. I'm liking the name more. I'm liking the move set more. I'm getting to really like what he does. I feel like, look, you basically couldn't spit in Triple H's face anymore with the destruction of the big gold X. I thought that was a bit over the top. Match was good. I always like seeing Ciampa wrestle. Any other thoughts on this one?
No, like you said, he has got money written all over him. When you think about it, he hasn't been wrestling for maybe 2 years, if that. And he is already like very good for what he's doing. The bit that you didn't see on the broadcast was Rick Steiner came in afterwards and hugged him and raised his dad came in after the thing and they hugged and raised his hand and all that. And also there was the commentary. The commentary said he's gone from a young pup to a dog-faced gremlin at the end of the match. That was another little thing I like. I just don't know why you couldn't just drop the break and just call him Bron Steiner. I don't know why you couldn't just keep that going, because it's a bankable name. And I've said it for the longest time with all of these guys.
I really like the Bron Breakker name.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, my mate Eric, shout out to Eric, who's made the most horrific prediction possible because I see it coming true, is that he's going to become Bron Battlehammer Breakker, and then he'll get moved up to the main roster, and Vince will drop both ends of the name, and he will just be called Battlehammer.
Oh my lord! Oh wow! I mean,
that's the problem. Is I hear it and I'm like, oh my god, it might happen.
Yeah, it's not too far from actual having a chance to happen.
No, I like the alliteration, the nod to Scott Steiner, Bron Breakker. I don't mind it. I know that he's not Scott Steiner's kid, but to a WWE audience, Scott was way more the more influential Steiner on that company.
He's got both. He's got the best qualities from both his dad and his uncle.
Yeah.
Like he's got that magnetism that Scott has, but I suppose Rick's got it as well, but just not to the level. Like it wasn't turned up as much with Rick. But then again, that was sort of Rick's role. Rick was always the second banana to Scott. He never really wanted to break out and be a big singles guy. He was quite happy being one of the Steiner brothers.
Being the tag team guy.
Yeah. The amount of growth that is still in Bron Breakker is amazing. And I heard also that Tommaso Ciampa was doing dark matches this weekend with Pete Dunne on the main roster tours. So maybe those two will be debuting up in the main roster really soon. Because I know that Pete's in that feud with D'Angelo at the moment.
Yep.
So, which I don't mind. I don't mind D'Angelo either. It went from that generic little like Sopranos kind of thing to like it's sort of grown on me now. I kind of dig the idea
use of the wrench.
Yeah, I kind of and just the fact that that's the guy he's having the feud with, the guy that went along used to breaking the fingers all the time. So of course that's who D'Angelo is going to go after and do the same sort of thing to. But just the whole, like the promos where he talks about, hey, get out of what, forget about it, all that sort of stuff. I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. It's different. Yeah, because it's different. It's not everyone talking the same. It's just, I had this conversation with someone today about a local promotion up here in Queensland, whereas I was like, they're all the same wrestler, just with wearing different costumes. And the person agreed with me. And that's not what wrestling is. Everyone should have a unique and distinct character, and their moveset should fit this unique and distinct character. And that's what like D'Angelo is at the moment. It's a unique and distinct character. Andre Chase is a unique and distinct character. Bron Breakker is just a unique and distinct ass-kicking character. And that's what you need. Like, I understand what they're doing with 2.0 at the moment. As much as people are shitting on it, in a year or two, or whenever they go up to the main roster, they're fully formed gimmicks, and they probably won't be fucked with the way they were in the old NXT, because they were pretty much kept to their
Vince ready.
Yeah, because they were kept to their indie character, whatever their indie character was when they came in. They sort of stayed to that. So when it went up to the like, Vince is like, well, that works fine when you're in an indie. We're not working in front of 500 people in a rec center. You're working in front of 15,000 people at Madison Square Garden. That doesn't work for them. We have to change this.
When you're Riddick Moss in NXT and then you go to WWE, you become Madcap Moss.
Yes.
If you're already Tony D'Angelo when you're in NXT, then you can go up to the main roster and still be Tony D'Angelo.
Well, yes, that is true. But then again, like, Riddick Moss has had a few shots as Riddick Moss in WWE.
He has.
And they didn't really work. So, I mean, why wouldn't you go, hey, let's try this?
Yep. That's exactly right. All right. Let's move on and talk about some announcements for the Royal Rumble. We've got a number of wrestlers already announced. For the Women's Royal Rumble match, we've actually got the majority already announced. So this includes, from SmackDown, we've got Carmella, Dana Brooke, Nikki Ash, Queen Zelina, Rhea Ripley, Tamina. From SmackDown, we've got Aaliyah, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Natalya, Shayna Baszler, and Shotzi. We've got legends, Brie Bella, Lita, Nikki Bella, Kelly Kelly, Michelle McCool, Summer Rae, and Mickie James all entering the match. Mickie James being a really notable entrant, as she was announced as the Impact Knockouts champion. We were just talking before, she retained in a Texas death match over Deonna Purrazzo at Hard to Kill. So in a big spot over there. And very interesting that WWE is announcing the Impact Championship on their show. Also with this, there's a rumor going around that Tony Khan is looking to get Mickie James on the AEW books before the Royal Rumble happens. Tell me what you think of this so far, Todd.
That's so very ethical. I think, I just want to say, I think we talked about Hard to Kill before we started recording. So we mightn't have mentioned that that's what that match was. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah. Thank
you. I was like, did we talk about
sorry. Mickie James retained over Deonna Purrazzo in a Texas death match at Hard to Kill in the main event of the show. So I get to do my shout out of, hey, look at that. There was more than one women's match on the show because they had that match where they've got to get the X by hanging off the X. They did that. And then also a Texas death match in the main event. Like, hey, they're booking women. Would you look at that?
And there would have been a third one if the Iconics or the Inspiration hadn't had a COVID scare. So
and we'll talk about some of those big COVID news later.
Yeah.
But so first off, what do you think of Mickie James being announced for the Royal Rumble as Impact Champion? And then also, what do you think about the number of legends going into the Royal Rumble match, which is, by my count, 7 already before surprise entrance?
I did hear a rumor that Mickie James will be wearing a garbage bag when she goes into the Rumble, so that'll be interesting to see. No, it's just look, I'm glad that they're doing it. I'm glad that they announced, like, people say it's a whole forbidden door, but if you watch enough of the network, they don't shy away from talking about TNA at all. I've never seen them do it anyway. I've seen them use TNA footage and credit them for it. I've seen them talk about
Dixie Carter was in an AJ documentary. Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. It's not like this isn't a new thing. It's just the first time that they've had it be announced on maybe a SmackDown. I don't know if it's the first time, but it's the first time I've noticed anyway. Yeah. Since Tony Khan decided to bring up the word forbidden door or whatever the fuck that means. If this
That's the big entrance thing that Imperium get to stand in front of, right?
Yeah. If this leads to more of a cooperation between the two, that's great. If this doesn't, that's okay too. I mean, they talk about like, and if Tony Khan is trying to do it, fair play to him. I'm sure it's something that maybe the WWE would have tried back in the day. I don't know. But if they did, and like if they did sign her and like that pulled her from the Rumble, that I think is very unprofessional. I would be looking into some sort of a contract law over that, because I
don't know if the plan is to get her pulled from the Rumble. I think the plan is to have an AEW employee in the Royal Rumble. I think that's what he's looking for.
They've had one. They've had one on the network. Chris Jericho did a fucking podcast with Steve Austin. What's the big deal? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get anything about this.
Khan.
I don't get anything about him. I don't get why people like him. I don't understand it at all. He just comes off to me. I don't know how you have in 2 years, like, worse energy than what Eric Bischoff had at the height of WCW's popularity, and still be having people worship the ground he walks on. I don't understand it. Please, somebody explain to me.
I'm not sure which comedian is playing Tony Khan, but they're doing a great job. It's hilarious.
Just explain it to me. I don't get it. If somebody could, that would be great. At Beast Eastman on Twitter, hit me up and please tell me why, because I don't understand it. If Vince had come out and said half of the shit he says on Twitter about some of these roster people, he would have been lynched by now. Like, if he'd have said we didn't sign, we let Samoa Joe because he just wasn't a very good wrestler. Then, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, all of these people that got released, if they just come out, one of them come out, the ones that have talked bad about WWE, and I'm sure there are a few of them that has, off the top of my head, I can't, but you have a look, guys like William Regal, Road Dogg, Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe had a bit of a slight parting shot at them, which is, I suppose, is fair enough because of what like happened to him. But then, like I said before, you got to look on the opposite side of that. Like, the injuries and that is something that they would have probably looked at. Are we getting our return on investment when this guy is spending 99% of the time on the injury list? But most of them have been like, thank you, you let me live my dream. What I think people need to understand.
William Regal specifically tweeted, "Don't try and get me to badmouth the company in these tweets. It's not going to happen." Yeah,
because if you know William Regal's story, he was very much in trouble with drugs and alcohol, and they helped him through it and helped him, and then employed him and kept him employed for 10, 15 years. I don't know how long it's been, but for a fair while. People need to realize that none of these jobs are lifetime jobs anywhere. AEW, WWE, New Japan, all of them. I can't remember who it was that said it, but they sort of said, as soon as you sign a contract with one of these companies, you are counting down to the day you'll be released. Because no job is forever, especially in that business. And it's just something that I don't think that wrestling fans seem to realize. Like, no job's forever. You're never guaranteed a spot there forever. If they don't have something for you, whether or not you think that they should have something for them, if they don't, then they'll move them on. It's as simple as that. And we went off topic again.
I'll just quickly run through the people who have been announced for the Men's Royal Rumble. It is from SmackDown, Sheamus. It is from Raw, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, and Austin Theory. And of course, I know your pick to win the Rumble, Todd, Johnny Knoxville. So that's going to be an interesting one there. We'll see how your bet plays out.
Has he actually been announced for the Rumble? Because
he's been officially. He is officially in the Royal Rumble.
Because on SmackDown, it was just like I was here to talk to someone about getting into the Royal Rumble.
No, they confirmed on SmackDown he will be in the Rumble.
Okay.
All right, let's move on because, man, we have so much to talk about and we are so good at getting sidetracked. Let's talk about AEW. So first off, let's talk about the COVID cases. You mentioned before in Impact, it was the Iconics. over in WWE. We know from talking day one that it was Roman Reigns. Now in AEW, we've had Cody Rhodes, Matt Jackson, and Brandon Cutler all contract COVID, resulting in them not being able to appear on shows.
Either contract or be like a close contact. So let's not go and say that they had COVID.
Sorry.
They are not medically cleared.
Well, unable to appear on shows due to COVID.
Yes.
All right. So with that, let's talk about the direct effect of that, which is that on Battle of the Belts, the TNT Championship was not defended by Cody. It was instead an interim championship match between Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes. And we talked about this one a little before, and the feeling was kind of that maybe Dustin Rhodes got more offense in than he should have, even though he did not beat Sammy Guevara for this interim title.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, I mean, we'll probably cover it a bit more, but like as soon as they announced that that's what the change was, you knew who was going to win that match. Like it sort of made it like I don't really have to watch this because Sammy's going to win it. And if Sammy doesn't, then oof. There's going to be a lynch mob ready, and I've probably said lynch mob way too much already tonight, but there's going to be a party ready to hang people because that would have been just like another nail in poor Sammy's coffin.
Yeah, look, as soon as they announced Cody versus Sammy for the title, I felt like it was not going to go well because there's no way Cody's losing it after only just getting it. But also having Sammy lose twice in a row would really not look good for him. So I'm almost glad that he wasn't able to have the match with Cody because it meant that he could get a win. But yeah, we'll talk more about it in a second.
Yeah.
Let's first talk about the results of Dynamite. The big one, Hangman Page defeating Bryan Danielson. Couple of things that first off, Bryan Danielson's the best wrestler in the world. My God, that man can wrestle.
Yeah.
But this was, once again, had the 1 hour time limit, which they went to previously, but this time had judges come in to ensure that there couldn't be a draw. In the case of going to time, the judges would declare a winner. So what did you think of the match, Todd?
Match was unbelievable. It was a great match. Those two have got good chemistry. They just do. The choice of judges was quite underwhelming. Everyone was thinking about who are they going to bring in? This is going to be, we might see Ricky Steamboat. We might see, no, it was just guys that they had in the back and just sort of like, Mark Henry, come Big Show. If you got Jerry Lynn, can you drop the clipboard? We need you out here for like the first 30 minutes, if that's cool. And that's all it really was. Like you could hear the sort of the wind go out of the crowd when they announced who the judges were. It was like, it's just guys that are already working for them. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? That was the only thing I thought. The match itself was great. I don't know. I'm not too much a fan of like just blood for blood's sake, and that's what this seemed to be. They did it the week before or the fortnight before when they had the first match and they busted open Page, and they just did it again. And like I understand doing it for dramatic effects, but why would you do it so close together? Like if you were going to do it in this second match, why would have you done it in the first? I like the fact that they built to the finish by having like Bryan hit pretty much every way he's finished the guys before in the Dark Order. He hit that on Page, and Page didn't give up or didn't pin or didn't submit or didn't anything before he hit the buckshot. I like the fact that it was just the one buckshot that finished him. There was so much I like about this match. Like you said, Bryan Danielson is the best wrestler in the world at the moment.
He's so good.
Yeah, and this, if anything, helped Hangman Page establish himself as the man. I don't know where they go with Page after this. I don't know who the next natural challenger is for him. And I don't know. As soon
as Mox is back, Mox is the challenger, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you would think.
Do they have to put Mox in a face role for coming out of rehab?
Yeah. And I don't know. I also don't know what happens with Bryan Danielson after this, where he goes. Maybe Mox comes back and those two go for a bit of a feud to establish Mox as the next like logical challenger. But if you do that, then you're just having Danielson lose twice in a row. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him.
Danielson's also still only lost one match in AEW, and it was to the champion
Yeah.
after taking him to a draw. Like, I think that Danielson's got plenty of meat left on the bone in terms of looking like a strong wrestler. I just,
He does, but also you can't have him do it back to back. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I think he has to be in a feud that he gets a win on after this, but I really do hope that they don't have to make every feud about a belt. They can actually make a feud that means something for some other reason. Speaking of which, let's talk about Sean Dean beating MJF by disqualification, because CM Punk showed up, hit Sean Dean with a GTS, and declared that he is going to force MJF to lose every match by disqualification until Punk gets a match with MJF. MJF not happy with this. He said, that's fine. If you want a match so bad, you can beat Wardlow, who beat Antonio Zambrano on the show. How do you feel that this feud is progressing?
I don't like how they have to keep constantly referencing WWE. Talk about your own stuff, guys. Like, focus on you. Like, I would like to see the amount of times that the WWE gets mentioned on AEW programming as opposed to the other way around. Because it is fairly, I think maybe twice in the whole history of WWE have I heard them mentioned. I think Hunter did it. Yeah, Hunter did it during the Hall of Fame thing with DX, and people blew up. And Sami Zayn mentioned it offhandedly during a promo segment when he did that Q&A from everyone in the crowd. And it was just like, what, you aren't going to ask me about AEW? And that sort of thing. But it's like every second week you hear in some way, shape, or form them talking about WWE. Because, I mean, as much as we love Punk, the primary reason he got so upset and left WWE was because he never got a WrestleMania main event match. And he felt like he deserved it. So, I mean, that is a part of bringing that up in a promo. But then I feel like that was just to set Punk up to say that other line, go and do it. You can do a 2-for-1 ticket sales on a night 4 of WrestleMania and then get released 4 months later. It's just low-hanging fruit. If that, especially for two guys that they could do so much more than what they're doing in a promo. They don't have to go for that. There's so much more meat on the bone they can go to without having to go to that. Just to get the, he said the bad thing about the other people. Yay. I expect better. Like, I expect better from MJF. I expect better from Punk, to be perfectly honest with you. I still want to see the match. I just expect better.
Yep, fully agree. Now, you've got written down in this run sheet, quote, Chris Jericho and his hair promo.
Yes.
Answer to that.
Have you seen? You've seen Dynamite.
I have not.
Oh,
I've seen. I skipped through a bunch of it. I am. Look, here's what it comes down to. If I'm fast forwarding through Dynamite, you better believe I'm not stopping for a Chris Jericho promo.
Okay. And if I probably won't, so I'm not going to mention it. I was going to say I'll put the photo up, but I'm not going to put the photo up because I can't be asked doing it. Do you remember ages ago, Chris Jericho put a photo of himself up on Twitter, and it looked like he'd badly photoshopped the front of his hair because that little front there is.
I do.
Yes. Well, it looked like he'd done a really big, like really dark hair dye job on his hair for this week on Dynamite. I don't know if you've got the technology to pull up a photo of him from this week on Dynamite.
I'm trying it now.
Okay, just do. But it looked like he's dyed his hair dark, like at least the top anyway. So it very much looked like this front bit here was heavily colored in, or they'd done something to it because, yeah, it was one of those things. So look, mate, you just, like, from me to you, Chris, embrace the ball. Just go with it, bro. Seriously, it's so much easier in the morning.
All right. Let's talk about the TBS Championship. We finally had our final match, Jade Cargill versus Ruby Soho. Jade coming out on top of this one to become the inaugural TBS Women's Champion. I think this was basically our prediction. that Jade was going to come out and win this one. It felt kind of from the top that was the way it was looking. It seemed that she is being set up to be a big deal, basically unbeatable, and this TBS being a secondary women's title is the place to put her with that. I feel like Ruby right now has only had two really, like, obviously she got through to the end of the tournament, but after coming up short in her title match and then coming up short for the TBS title, I don't know where you go with Ruby Soho right now.
Yeah, well, let's not mention the fact that it wasn't a good match. Like, she's not.
No, I tried to not mention that.
Yeah, no, she is not ready for prime time. She's not ready for live TV. She is great when you can put her on a Rampage where you can edit some of her stuff out and tighten her matches. And this is Jade Cargill I'm talking about, not Ruby Soho. She's great when you can do that to her. I don't think that she's ready to carry a more than 10-minute match. She's great for squashes. She's great for a match where you can edit her. I don't think she's ready for anything more than that, to be perfectly honest with you. And there's no other thing of just that's my reasoning. She can't do it. She's not very good. Yet. I'm sure that she's got plenty of room to grow. I think they've pushed her way too quickly to be in a position where, especially when there are so many other good women wrestlers on that roster that could be in that spot and flourish. I mean, you've got Ruby Soho, you've got now I'm blanking on her name, Hikaru Shida, you've got what's the NWA World Champion?
Go on.
You're gonna keep me hanging out, you bastard.
Hotty names the AEW women's roster. Here we go,
Yeah.
Todd. Keep going.
No. I can see her, and that's the problem. I can see her. But there's so many other good women that are on this roster that could take that and run with it, to put it on somewhere where they have to. And let's face it, they're going to have to use smoke and mirrors to keep her looking good over this title reign. It's just a fact, because she's not very good. Like, there was a point there where that big finish was her finisher off the top. She did the finisher off the second rope to Ruby. And you literally see Ruby telling her when it was good to go before they do it. Like, I don't know if that's just me noticing it because I look more into it, but I literally saw Ruby go, not yet, now, when it happens. You don't have to do that with like other wrestlers, not men, women, anyone. And you don't have to do that with those people.
I absolutely agree. I would love for it to have been Thunder Rosa. I would love for it to have been Serena Deeb or
there
Jamie
you go,
Hayter or
Serena Deeb,
Statlander, or there's so many names in that roster that could be in that spot, and yet it seems like every week we have to sit there while they put Penelope Ford on TV. I'm so done with this side of the roster, especially now that we've got Mercedes Martinez coming in, who has a 0-1 record.
And also the fact that like they've got those girls, and because that they had the match, that the hardcore match the other week, and they both got busted open, and they both did all that. That was a train wreck of a match. Just because you got cut open doesn't mean it was a good match. And everyone put it over going, oh, that was the best match, because they had smoke and mirrors the whole way through the match. It was, they gimmicked the shit out of it because they know that they can't work. And like, you got guys like Jade Cargill, who is as green as grass, and bloody Tony Khan is coming out on podcasts and saying Jade Cargill is probably the most dominant run, in my opinion, of any wrestler in North America has been on television since Bill Goldberg 25 years ago. Holy shit. I'm sorry.
Tony Khan doesn't know who Asuka is?
Yeah, well, no, of course not, because she can work.
Yeah, that's right.
Ask Kenny because she's Japanese, so he'll definitely know who she is.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, I want to be positive that there's another women's title. I really want to be positive. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
There are great women. There are some great women on that roster. Jade Cargill isn't one of them, and she shouldn't be holding that title.
No.
Like, I know people say, like, oh, titles help make competitors or titles help make wrestlers. No, the wrestler helps make the title. As good a wrestler is how your title looks, in my opinion, anyway.
For real, if you give me a TBS title match that's Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez, or, you know, Mercedes Martinez versus Jamie Hayter, or, you know, like even Leva Bates. Leva Bates is on that roster.
Yeah.
She can wrestle, right? And I know that she is there to do the enhancement, whatever. She can wrestle better than Jade Cargill. Like,
Yeah. There are a lot of people. Jade has the look, and that's why she's there.
I am very excited for Jade to be good eventually. She'll be great when she is, but she's not there yet.
No. And we shouldn't be pretending that she is.
No. Moving on, Malachi Black beat Brian Pillman Jr., so he's not going anywhere.
How I did not like the way the finish of this match was booked. Like, they made Brian look like an idiot because he slipped off the ropes to go into that finish. And it didn't even look like a legitimate slip. It just looked like he deliberately slipped off that rope to do it.
That was the Bron Breakker finish from the last NXT title match, right?
Yeah.
Not to defend it, because I also hate it.
No. You're completely right. And I just don't like it. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now.
Yeah, Pillman looks like a rube. It's ridiculous. And then finally, the AEW World Tag Team Championship was on the line between Jurassic Express and the Lucha Brothers. A big story coming out of this match was that Luchasaurus put Rey Fenix through a table, and Rey Fenix's arm bent a way that arms should not bend.
No, they should not.
That was not good. Sounds like it was just a bad dislocation and not a break, thankfully. We've talked a lot on this podcast about how Rey Fenix is incredible, maybe the best high flyer in the world today. I think the only person who is close is maybe Elio Del Vikingo. That's maybe the only argument that I can see. Rey Fenix is absolutely incredible. We wish him all the best. Jurassic Express getting a hold of the tag team championships, I think, is really, really good. I think that I'm a big fan of both of those guys. Having gold on them is great. It's going to be Jungle Boy's first time holding gold, which is going to be a great practice for when he's that world champion one day. I'm never going to be happy when the Lucha Brothers lose. Right?
Do you think that the finish was booked this way, or do you think they went to this finish because Phoenix was done?
I don't know, but I really am not bothered either way, because if the decision got made partway through, we can't have Penta take out both of these guys. I disagree, but I think it was probably the right call. Whereas if it was the decision made beforehand, I also think, they're a good team to have the belts. So, I'm not bothered either way. Either way, I think that if they made the decision beforehand, good. They're putting stock in young talent. If they made the decision partway through the match, good. They're not going through with someone winning a handicap match out of nowhere.
Okay, question 2. Do you think that Jurassic Express would have been better served if they'd have won those titles back when the Bucks had it and they had that feud? Or was this the perfect time to give it to them? Or did they miss that point? Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think maybe it would have been a bigger deal before, but I also, that's with 2020 hindsight, right? I also think that it was good for the Bucks to have them at the time because they were the dominant heels. So I'm never going to like a face team taking belts from a face team. Yeah. But this is what it is.
Yeah. But otherwise, it was a good match until, of course, that horrendous the horrendous injury. It was a great match.
Speaking of injuries during matches, Jake Atlas just got signed to AEW and is already out with injury after a match against Adam Cole. Adam Cole, props to him, as soon as the injury happened, put in the submission, got the win, went straight to the finish so that there was a conclusive end to the match while also getting an injured Atlas out of there. I think that shows that Cole knows what he is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And also those guys have worked together a fair bit in NXT. So
yeah, that's
it would have been quite easy for him to say, look, we're just going to go to the finish here. We'll just go quickly through the rest of that Rampage because that was on Rampage. Also, Hook defeated Aaron Solo, leading his ways for just to keep squashing people, and which is probably the best thing for him at the moment. Again, he's another one who's not ready for bigger matches. It's probably better he's on Dynamite. I know everyone loves him, and I love him as well. I think he's got a massive...
He's awesome, huge future.
Yep, he's just not ready for bigger matches. Let's not push him too hard, too fast. Let's just let him get his wins up and let him get some more experience. And then Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter and Riho and Ruby Soho did something because I don't know. I went out.
No, I was right there with you.
I was like, I'm going to see this match tomorrow. Why am I watching this now? To be honest with you, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also had Battle for the Belts. So we talked before, Dustin Rhodes was the replacement for Cody. Sammy Guevara beat him to be the interim TNT champ. I think Dustin got too much offense when we knew Sammy was going to win.
Well, what I don't understand, right, is if they had Cody out with COVID, right, they had someone that could have easily slid into that spot, and that was Scorpio Sky. Why wouldn't have you put those two and had that match? Because that match could have blew the doors off everything on that show.
Could have been incredible.
Could have been incredible, exactly. And really, it wouldn't have mattered who won because you could have had Scorpio Sky winning by doing something like having Ethan Page and that do something dirty to help him win. And that takes nothing away from Sammy. In fact, if anything, it gives Sammy a reason to go back after him. Because then you've got Scorpio Sky lined up with Cody when Cody's back, and then also Sammy. It would have been you had two guys ready to go with him. I don't understand why they just didn't do that instead of going like dusting off Dustin. And there's nothing against Dustin. He's an amazing worker. He's been put over for the last 18 months as someone who's not on that level. Like he's not regularly on Dynamite.
I also really like... Let's talk about that booking that you've just proposed there, Todd, because then if Cody goes and loses that TNT title to someone, I don't know, a Samoa Joe or whoever you've got, right? Then Sammy, in order to retain that title, has to go through each of the people that beat him for that title before getting that title. That sounds like an awesome little story you've got there, where Sammy has 2 non-title matches just to earn his shot, even before going into a number 1 contendership match. There's so much potential there, and yet we just get he beats Dustin.
Yeah, it was very underwhelming. That whole match, for what they put this Battle of the Belts over as being, they talked about it so much that this is going to be our version of Clash of the Champions type of a deal, and it felt like they did an extra episode of Rampage this week.
Yeah, speaking of underwhelming, the AEW Women's Championship match. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defended the title against Riho.
Oh, also, we forgot FTW title, Ricky Starks and Matt Sydal.
Oh, no, I was just going to put that last because it was nothing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. As you were. as you were.
All right. Yeah, so let's talk about... No, you know what? Let's talk about that match quickly then. Ricky Starks beat Matt Sydal for the FTW World title. You pointed out correctly on Twitter, it's redundant to have it called the World Championship if it's already the FTW Championship. I don't know why this counts as Battle of the Belts. It's not.
Yeah,
it's something that Taz made up and then he gave to Cage.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
it's nothing.
Yeah, Taz made it up back in the day in ECW. For those that don't know...
And it mattered in ECW.
Yeah, exactly. He couldn't get a title shot for some reason. Like, Shane Douglas kept ducking him in ECW. So he made a fuck the world title belt and started defending it. And that's what the whole FTW was about. Like, fuck the world title. He didn't need it. He's Taz. So that's where that came about. I don't know why they didn't just do Dante Martin and Ricky Starks. Just do it. Just do it. I know
That's where the money is.
Yeah, I know you were going to do like him and fucking Hobbs next week on Dynamite. Did you really need that? Or could you make something better here and make that show better? If they'd have thrown that in there, if you've got like dream booking, if you've got Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky, Ricky Starks, Dante Martin, and then Britt Baker and Riho, that's a solid 3-match thing that really in some, you don't know who's going to win from Sammy and Scorpio, really. That's a toss of the coin. Ricky Starks and Dante Martin, the way that's going, Dante could win that match, and then that would extend their thing because like he's got their belt, so they're going to go after him. Britt Baker and Riho was already a toss-up. People thought for sure that Riho was going to somehow get this win in this match. I don't know why, but they all sort of, like a lot of people thought that that's what was going to happen. So that's 3 matches there where you could not tell the finish. I look at this card right now, like the way it was, and I could tell you who was going to win 2 out of those 3 matches quite easily. It wasn't even an afterthought in my mind. Like I knew Dustin wasn't going to beat Sammy. I knew that Matt Sydal wasn't going to beat Ricky Starks. So it's just, if they were going to build it up, and they really built up that this is what Battle of the Belts was going to be. It was going to be a massive show for AEW and a great chance for them because they're on a Saturday night on TBS or TNT or whatever, whichever channel it was on, for an hour. And it was an hour earlier than what the Rampage show's on. So it's like they built it up and then they just didn't deliver, in my opinion.
Notably, ratings came in at over 1 million for the show. So that's something.
For Battle for the Belts. No, it's Dynamite, mate.
I may be thinking of the wrong show. I'm thinking Dynamite.
You're thinking of Dynamite. But also, too, they went over
the mill for Dynamite.
Yeah, but they went over the mill, which is great. But you got to think, too, that was their first show on that channel. And
that's right.
It was very, like, let's have a look at the matches. It was like Paige and Brett Danielson. And after the way that first one got, the rave reviews it got, that was always going to get a good following for the second amount. And that's probably why that was a smart idea, putting that on that first show for TBS. I personally probably would have moved Jurassic Express on that thing and maybe moved Baker and that up to that Dynamite card. If it was me, I possibly would have moved that tag match to Battle for the Belts, just because I know that would have bookended the TNT title and the World Tag titles. They would have bookended those nicely. And it would have been nice for their first Dynamite main event to be a women's title match as well.
But again, let's talk about that women's title match really quickly. It feels to me like Rio is apprehensive about working an American style match. Whenever she's got an opponent that is not Japanese, it feels like she is too worried to wrestle properly. And it doesn't land the way it should. It all looks soft. I know we were having this conversation earlier about how you feel that sometimes you get those smaller, especially the smaller Japanese women come on over and they don't look as impactful. You can't believe it. I'm getting that with Riho at the moment whenever she's wrestling in the US.
I want her to double stomp me from the top rope because I might put my back in. I don't think it'll hurt me. I think it might help me. You know, it's just, I just don't, I don't know, like I've seen people say stuff about like, oh, I can't believe you, like people just because of their size. Yes, guess what? Size does matter when it comes to this sort of thing, unless you can work in a believable manner. Unless you can work like a Rey Mysterio, where the offense you do is makes sense because you're facing someone who's so much bigger than you. And if you're just doing the regular moves that everyone does against people that are 3 times your size, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make sense in my head. It doesn't compute. And when you're, like you said before, she's hesitant, it's like she runs into something and then stops about 2 steps before, then slows up and then sort of goes, are we doing it? Okay, let's do that. I don't get it. I love Britt Baker. I love all, like Jamie Hayter's great as well. Rebel knows her role perfectly and plays it so very well. I think a lot of their stuff that they're doing at the moment, because they're obviously leading to something with Jamie and Britt, seems a bit ham-handed. Like they seem to put stuff in just to put stuff in. It doesn't make sense that she's doing it like Britt Baker. It doesn't make sense that Jamie Hayter is doing what she does at certain times to cause this friction. There are ways to do it where it's like accidental friction causing. And it seems to me that they're not doing that. They're just trying to be so blatant about it, going, look, they're going to fight eventually. Oh, look, they did it again. You know what I mean? It's ways of doing it, and I don't think they're doing it right.
It also, to me, I don't know who they are building to be the person to take this title off Britt. There doesn't seem to be anyone that Britt hasn't beaten yet who is working up the card. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless
if
it's
Jamie
going to be
Hayter's the one to do it, then but Jamie's like 7-11 career. She's 1-1 already this year. If you want to talk about this being the company where like the results matter, she doesn't look like someone who can earn a title shot based on what she's got there.
See, the results matter until they don't need it to matter. Then they just do a tournament. That's their way. That's their way around it.
Here's the question, right? Do you think that after Thunder Rose has been beaten, Nyla Rose has been beaten, all these people have been beaten, do you think Jamie Hayter believably takes it off Brett?
No, Jade Cargill like amalgamates both by belts.
Oh, way to deflate me there.
No, but like I think that like I think what happens, and some people see it some way, some people see it the other, is I think Jamie turns on Britt and Britt makes Britt a babyface. And maybe Jamie wins the title then. And then because you've got so many more like heel women that could put good matches on. Face women that can put good matches on against the heel champion. Like you've still got like Ruby could have a title match. You've got like Karashida. You've got there's so, like, you know what I mean? There's so many off the top of my head that I can see.
And you can have Hayter as the heel cheat to take it off Brett. And if Britt's going down that that face route, it'd make sense.
Yeah, exactly right. And then you've also got the redemption story of Britt working her way back up to that title.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Well, we've just talked about wrestling for a full hour. So you know what that means? We get to talk about Wrestle Kingdom next. So we are absolutely not stopping this train at all. I feel like I cut out there.
No, you didn't. You're fine.
I didn't?
No, but you just ruined it by saying this.
I did ruin it. You went silent and stopped.
I know. Because I'm like,
damn it.
What's he doing? Keep going. Just throw to an ad break.
So
son.
No.
Nah.
We've been talking for an hour, so you know what that means. Time to talk more because we haven't touched on Wrestle Kingdom yet. So if you want to be part of this conversation, head on over to our socials. Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram, Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you think about this huge amount of wrestling that's been going on over the past few weeks. We will be back right after this.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to edit that out or not.
Oh, you asshole.
This is the Bro Day Pod. I think like a crocodile has like the bite force and and like the rip and tear, but I feel like a shark
and
way
roll.
too much teeth, man. Way too many teeth. Too much teeth. Too many teeth. Like just bite, just tear flesh out of it. If it's a great white as well, I feel like a shark's got it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
If I'm in there, I could choke out a shark.
Oh my god, dude. What is this?
You turn into
Is
a triple
that all
threat.
this podcast is? This podcast is just to prove, just for you to convince the world that you can fight every animal. Oh, I'm so heated now.
Shut up. It's a triple threat.
Who's taking the pin? If it's a triple threat?
It's a triple threat. I'll be the crocodile first. And then
It's elimination. It's an elimination. You're taking them both out. Nah, bro. This came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. That's it. At any point, all you want to do is prove you can fight animals. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Follow Broday No Plan B podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. We still have a whole lot of wrestling to talk about because New Japan Pro Wrestling, as they do on January 4th, went to the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom. So let's get straight into it. First off, a massive return. Katsuyori Shibata came in for a match against Ren Narita. Now, if you're not familiar, Ren Narita is a, former, I guess, young lion who went specifically to train at the LA dojo under Shibata. And the storyline has been that he is very much in Shibata's image. And Shibata's said previously that he thinks Narita needs the right opponent to bring out the best in him. What was interesting about this match was it was announced against a mystery opponent, and then Shibata came out, and it was going to be a catch rules match, so no strikes. Shibata grabbed the mic and announced, no, we're going to have a regular wrestling match. And it sounds like he made that decision and no one else knew about it. So that's very interesting. The man, the severe brain injury a few years back, deciding, no, I'm good to wrestle a full contact match. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, he's been doing that in training. He's been wrestling full contact matches. So he knows what he can do. So, of course, he took the mic and went, well, they can get mad at me afterwards, but let's go. Let's do this. And what's Ren Narita going to do? That's his boss. That's his sensei. That's his mentor. Of course, he's going to go along with it. So
you're not saying no.
No, you're not saying no to that dude. Yeah.
And what's going to happen? He's going to get in trouble from Gato?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to give. What did you do that? It's Shibata. What do you want me to do? We just let him kick me? He kept kicking me. I get him back. But yeah, that was a great match.
Yeah.
I love Shibata. It's so good to see him back. I understand that he'll probably never be on a full-time schedule again. We'll never see him like in a G1 tournament type scenario. But if I get to see him 2 or 3 times a year, I'll be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a never openweight championship match, Evil versus Tomohiro Ishii. And I had to sit through it.
I was waiting for I was like, what's he going to say here? You don't like Evil, do you?
Jesus. It's not that I don't like Evil. It's not at all that I don't like Evil. And it's not that I don't like the heel stable, right? What I didn't like was that this match seemed to go for half an hour and nothing happened, right? Like from the start, Evil is cheating. He's, using the chair as a weapon, and he's got the House of Torture guys coming in to interfere. And then the whole match goes on like that. At one point, Yo comes out to try and break it up and fails, and the match keeps going until Evil wins, right? This match is fine if it is a third of the length. It's fine if something happens for Ishii to maybe look like he's going to win, but it never did. This match was an absolute drag.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I was disappointed a little bit because it's not on here, but Sho and Yo had a match as well. And
they did. They had the opening match, and I thought it was really pretty good.
I just didn't like who won. I really like Yo. Is it Yo?
Sho is the bad guy. Yo.
Sho there. Sorry, I really like Sho. I think he's got so much potential, so much of a future. I would have liked to see him get this win here. I know he won. They won the next night in the 6-man, but the singles match is what's more important to me. Like the other guy feels like Marty Jannetty when I watch the two of them fight. Even the fact that he wore the gear and he looked like he was that Royal Rumble Marty Jannetty who came out with that white and black gear.
Yeah, but that's also like I know it's weird to say like, oh, it's Japan, it's different. But like he kind of looks like Tanahashi to me. Like he's filling that role. He seems like he's what's being set up as the future Tanahashi.
Yeah, I see so much more potential in
Sho.
In Sho, thank you. I don't know why, because some of their names are so similar. I just see so
It's
much
because
more
they've got the
potential.
same name because they started in that tag team.
Yeah. I honestly see so much more potential. He reminded me back in when he was in the tag team. He reminded me a lot of Jesus. Now I'm blanking again. He wrestles in NXT at the moment. Lightweight champion Kushida. He reminded me so much of Kushida when he was in that tag team match. And I want to see that more. I want to see more of that type of a worker, but with a heel edge. And at the moment, he just seems like Evil's bitch boy, and I don't like that. I want him to step out.
He does
on his
seem
own.
like Evil's bitch boy. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and he's better than that.
Moving on, we had Yep, agree. IWGP Tag Team Championship match. Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi beat the Dangerous Tekkers, Zack Sabre Jr. and Tai Chi, to win the titles. I don't think this was ever going to be a bad match.
No. And it was time for those two to lose those belts. They had them for a fair while, and it was time for those two to drop those finally.
I also think that Tai Chi and ZSJ probably have single stuff that they want to do, and having to defend those tag titles gets in the way of that. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see what happens. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Hiromu Takahashi challenging Desperado here, and El Desperado comes out on top. There'd been talk to, El Desperado said he didn't want to be called an interim champion because that's disrespectful to the people that had challenged for the belt, but he didn't feel like he had properly become the champion until he beat Takahashi for it. I think that this match was, considering that they went to a time limit draw in a half-hour match previously, it felt like it was too short, and they hit massive offense too early when the whole thing was half an hour is not enough. They need the full hour time limit. That felt weird to me, but the match was good.
See, honestly, I didn't know much of that background, so I just loved the match. I thought the match was great. Both of these guys are great. Despy is so underrated. I know a lot of people talk about him, but they don't talk about him in as glowing terms as they should. I love Takahashi. His character is just so good. It translates. Like, he mightn't speak English, but it still translates, if that makes sense. I love both of these guys. I love Takahashi more, but I think the right guy won. I don't know where this goes from here, because I don't know by looking at Takahashi if he can step up to the heavyweight thing, or if he's just going to be that perpetual light heavyweight challenger, occasional champion. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, definitely. And then the main event of night one, Okada gaining the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship off Shingo Takagi. I really like Takagi. I think he's absolutely awesome. I'm really glad that he got one of the first runs with this new unified world championship. There was no way Okada wasn't winning this.
No, exactly right. We talked off air about this, and you couldn't see them doing Shingo going over both Okada and Ospreay, unless, of course, they were going to put the absolute rocket behind Shingo, and I can't see them doing that for some reason. No. Not when you've got, and look, we talk about Bryan Danielson being the best in the world. Best in North America, because Okada, in my opinion, is the best.
Okada's different.
He's like, and I'll cop
he's
a lot of.
He's almost not a wrestler. He's something else.
I will cop a lot of shit over this, but Okada is the reason why people thought Omega was so very good.
I agree.
Because look, since he's moved to AEW,
Omega's great.
He's had some really good matches. Nothing like he's had when he was in Japan with Okada. And I think Okada was so very good that he made people think that Omega is so very good. And he proved it, both nights here. He had absolute bangers back to back. Will Ospreay, Will Ospreay's not a bad worker. I'm not saying that at all. But he took two of the guys who are arguably two of the best in New Japan, back-to-back had cracker matches with them and came out on top. And there was no lag in the second match. There was no, if anything, he sold stuff that paid off from that first match in the second match. He's on another level to everyone else in the world. I'm sorry. You can talk about
the thing about
Brian
Okada for
Danielson.
me is that, like, I always expect an Okada match to be great, and yet it's still better than I expected it to be. I don't know how he does that. Every time you go in going, this match is going to be phenomenal, and then you get to the end and you go, that was better than I was expecting. How is that possible?
Yeah.
He doesn't put on a match that doesn't immediately lock into my head as a great match worth remembering.
Well, look, I'll be honest with you. When I first started watching New Japan on a like semi-regular basis, when I got like New Japan World and I would watch the G1 tournament matches and all of that sort of stuff, is when Okada was coming into his own. It was when he was starting, and Omega was all of that sort of thing. So like, I expect, like, Omega was already, people were saying he was already like the next big thing. He was already good. And he was already having banger matches because he was with Tanahashi and Okada and all of that. So when he moved to US, I thought, I'm going to see these same sort of matches with the US guys. It's going to be unbelievable. And then I didn't. And it took a while for me to cotton on to why it was. And it's because these guys aren't as good as Okada. It's Okada was the one cooking the dish. And Omega was just smart enough to shut up and listen to him doing it. If that makes sense.
Look, I'm going to respectfully disagree because I think there has been incredible matches in New Japan. And I think that it's not all just Okada, right? But there is a select group of those guys, and I think Omega's in there. Omega, Okada, Naito, Tanahashi, and I think, help me out, Golden Lover, what's his name?
Ibushi.
I think if you look at those five guys and you just put them together in any combination, you end up with an incredible match, right? And it's when you've got a group like that you can draw so many lines between them and get world-class matches. That's what the big thing is.
Look, the thing for me is, right, I can see Okada with anyone on this card, and it would be an amazing match. If I see Omega with anyone on this card, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. And that, to me, tells me that he is so much better. Do you know what I mean? Because when he moved, when Okada went to America, I thought, I'm going to see so many good matches now. And I've seen good matches from him, but nothing to the level of when he was in New Japan. Like, his matches with Okada, at one point, I think it was the first one or the second one, I can't remember. One of them brought me to tears watching it because I was so happy to be watching the match. Now, I've not been anywhere near that on anything else that Omega has done. Okada, that's a different story. I still get that feeling with him, like it's a special match with anything he's in. And I'm probably waxing way too lyrical on Okada at the moment. But yes, he's the best wrestler in the world. I don't care. I know people see Danielson a lot more, so that's probably why he's more front of mind. But Okada's better. I'm sorry, he just is.
Yeah. It's, to me, man, I wish we could have Nakamura go over and have an Okada Wrestle Kingdom match so bad, because he was also one of those guys where all of those Wrestle Kingdom matches, just no matter what, it was going to be a highlight. And I fully agree with you that Okada's on a different level. He's superhuman.
Nakamura came out somewhere and said he would like to do at least one match in New Japan for their anniversary year. So fingers crossed that is able to happen, because that would be special. Anyway,
that would be like truly special.
Let's move on to night
like,
two. Because
go to Japan special.
That's it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
There was an Aussie in night two, so we have to talk about that one.
There was. There was. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships were defended by Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask over Taguchi and Rocky Romero as the Mega Coaches and El Fantasma and Taji Ishimori as Bullet Club's cutest tag team. I'm really glad to see Robbie and Tiger Mask still holding these belts. The fact that Robbie dropped the Junior Heavyweight title seems like he's being focused in this direction at the moment. And I think that Taguchi and Romero probably end up taking the belts from them so that Taguchi gets to be the 69th champion again. I don't love it, but I think it's what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm glad for Robbie mostly.
Honestly, I'd be happier to see Phantasma and Taji Ishimori take those titles, just because there's more of a story with Robbie. So Robbie,
I agree, but I think that's what happens.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you at all.
There was a Stardom match on the card proper, which is very exciting. This was Tam Nakano and Saya Kamatani defeating Mayu Iwatani and Starlight Kid. This was a big surprise for me because when Iwatani and Starlight were one of the teams, I just went, oh, so they're winning. You put the faces over. But no, Nakano and Kamatani winning this one I thought was a very interesting choice. I'm really glad to see women wrestling on the proper Wrestle Kingdom card. What did you think?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see this match. Like when I went to watch it live, I screwed up the time delay thing. So I didn't come in until the next match, the King of Pro Wrestling match. But I went, I'll admit I went back just to watch the Robbie match and then turned it off after that. I didn't realize that they were there. So, but what from all reports I've heard is that it was a match that pretty much came very close to stealing the show that night, which is great. This was great to hear. It's great to hear that they got their chance and they made the most of it. And hopefully this leads to more integration when it comes to Stardom and New Japan on these shows, on the bigger shows that we see.
Mayu Iwatani is one of those three women who is always pointed at as those three Japanese women are the best women's wrestlers in the world. The other ones were Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, Kairi Hojo, whatever you want to call her.
Mm-hmm.
They were pointed at as those are the best wrestlers in the world, and you put the three of them in a building and it's insane. Iwatani is really holding it down in Stardom at the moment.
Is it bad that I look at the name Starlight Kid and I just think of like the Starlight Foundation?
I think the same thing.
Okay. That's not just me or good.
No, I always hear the picture of the purple with the gold star across.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Speaking of King of Pro Wrestling, this four-way match was decided by the final four in a New Japan Rambo that happened on the pre-show of the first night with Toru Yano, Chase Owens, Minoru Suzuki, and Chima. Minoru Suzuki winning this one to earn the trophy. I think probably the right choice here. The gut felt like they might give it to Yano again, but I think, man, Suzuki is just something special to watch.
I like the fact that somebody mentioned it. It might have been someone on Twitter or something like that. But you know how the winner of the King of Pro Wrestling can announce what stipulation the thing has to be defended over. They said something like Suzuki should make it like it's catch wrestling, or not catch wrestling, but what's the name of it? The UWFI style wrestling. Yeah, he should
Fight
make
time.
that. Yeah, he should make that like blood sport type. That should be the way that thing is defended over the next however long he has it. Which I do not disagree with.
When Yano did it, it would always be like something to do with the turnbuckles or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, let's have Suzuki go, this is a title that you fist fight me for. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also we should mention that Seema being in it as well, being someone from what was it called? The Strong Hearts. They were out there as well. So, and they were supposed to be a big part of AEW until the world blew up. And then it hasn't really happened since.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, moving on from that, there was a never openweight 6-man tag team championship match. So this was the House of Torture, Evil, Yujiro, Takahashi, and Sho defending against Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Yo. This one was a retain for House of Torture. You talked before about thinking that Show is the star of the show, maybe. We talked about, Evil being a little bit of the same match every time. I think that I'm glad to see House of Torture keep these titles, because if they're going to do the thing that they're doing, they need to have gold to prove that it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, man, I love Show. I think he's got so much potential. I want to see him win that light, or at least challenge Despy for the light heavyweight title. I want to see more of that sort of stuff, because I think he will just get so much better from having those matches with those type of guys. And if he's stuck in these 6-mans and all of that sort of stuff, it's going to hinder his growth. So I want to see that. That's something I want to see, because I see so much potential in him. He's like one of those guys that you see, when I saw him in 3K, Roppongi 3K. I was like, that kid's got it. That kid could be the next Kushida. And I want to see him emerge into that. Do you know what I mean? I want to see him grow into that, because
absolutely.
That's what I think. But the next
after
two
this, the Stars of Noah invaded Wrestle Kingdom. This is to promote the Night 3, which is not really a Night of Wrestle Kingdom, but a Noah versus New Japan show that's all tag matches. So that's something. It's very interesting to see these companies working together. But beyond that, it's exhibition stuff.
Yeah. I know I wrote invade, but it was really more of the most polite Japanese invasion you've ever seen. They just calmly walked to the ring and cut their little promo, and then calmly.
A very respectful invasion.
It was a very respectful. If anything, they just dropped by to say hi.
Yeah. So after this, we had the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship on the line in a no DQ match. Tanahashi, Kenta. This was not what you expect in a New Japan ring.
No, not at all. This was I gotta love this match. As much as I don't like these sort of garbage matches, I say garbage, quote unquote, there was a reason for it, because they'd been working up to this over the time. And it was like there was ladders and there was tables. And if anyone knows New Japan, they do not work their table at all. It is everything. It's a table. And they went through a couple of them. So that tells you what it was like. There was chairs involved. At one point, Kenta brought out his old suitcase that he had underneath. You know, the one that's beat the hell? It was still the same one, because it still had all the cracks in it. And he'd used that during the match. Tanahashi finished it with a massive high fly. What's it called? High fly flow. High fly flow, easy for me to say. Off the top of this. It wasn't a ladder. It was scaffolding. This is how tall this ladder was. It would have been easily a 20-foot ladder. Easily a 20-foot ladder. And he hit that on Kenta through a table for the finish.
Yeah, incredible. After this match, Kenta suffered a dislocated left hip, a broken nose, tendon damage to his finger, and severe lacerations to his back. So get well soon, Kenta. But wow.
Yeah. And if you watch this match, you will understand why he did all this stuff to himself, because those tables they shouldn't use them, because there is thick, like a good inch thick metal that is their braces on the sides of those.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So,
it's stupid.
It really is. But the only match that could have followed that was
if I'm going to have a gripe at this match just quickly, it doesn't feel like it's a match for the US Heavyweight Championship, does it? Between Kenta and Tanahashi. Yeah, but we know with the situation in the world at the moment,
see, you say that, but it was a very US style match.
It was. And that's something that I think, if you're going to have two Japanese wrestlers wrestling for a US title, you have a garbage match. Yeah, that's great.
It was either that or you put Chase Owens in there. And let's face it, Chase Owens isn't Kenta, and he's sure as hell not Tanahashi.
No. But yeah, you're right. There's only one match that could follow that. It's the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. So if you don't know the story going into this one, Ospreay vacated the title a little while ago. So on the previous night, the belt that Shingo Takagi was defending was one that he earned. Ospreay came back, claimed to be the rightful champion, had his version of the belt that he would carry around. And that's so Okada won the official lineage. Ospreay had his claim to the lineage. This unified them, and Okada established himself as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. We already said it. Okada's on another level.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about this match, and I talked to you off air about this, is that they didn't throw that ugly new belt down and bring back the old belt. That's the only thing I didn't like about it.
Especially when Okada was carrying the old belt instead of a briefcase as his G1 prize, which, by the way, mwah, delicious. Yeah. Love it. That's such a cool decision. But yeah, that new belt, like, I get it. They're trying to modernize it, but it looks like something that came off a Gundam.
Some things don't need modernizing. You know what I mean? There are some belts that don't need modernizing. Like the NWA heavyweight title. That should never change because it's an iconic design. That IWGP belt, that design that they had before the one now, that should never change. Like if it was up to me, the WWE would still have the Winged Eagle belt because that to me is a world championship belt.
But what's interesting about it is I get what you're saying. It's a different championship.
Yeah.
Right? The IWGP Heavyweight Championship does not exist anymore. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, which is the new belt, is a different belt because it came when it was unified with the Intercontinental belt that had all that history going with, that was the one that Nakamura was strongly associated with that main evented shows. So uniting them makes it a different belt. I much prefer the old heavyweight championship to the world heavyweight championship, but I understand why they have a different belt and they don't want to bring the old one back.
Yeah.
I hope that the new one gets a redesign to look less like something out of a manga.
I know this whole, they amalgamated the belts. Honestly, the lineage of the Intercontinental title doesn't mean shit to what the lineage of that world title meant. You had guys like Muta, Vader, all of these guys over the last God knows how many years that have held that title, that I used to love watching that. Before every title match, they used to show all the champions that came up before. Do you know what I mean? There was that video that showed all the champions come up. There's not that anymore. There's like 3 champions.
They still do it. Now there's only 3 of them.
Yeah, and it's, to me, that's they killed their history when they did that. If anything, that should have been like they won the Intercontinental Championship, and that's it. That belt is now retired. This is the belt in New Japan, and look at the lineage it has. And that's my only gripe with it. That belt, like I said, is iconic. It should not ever change. And when they did that,
I'll talk a lot about how important that Intercontinental title was. Like, that's the title that Nakamura main evented Wrestle Kingdom to defend. But it's also a title where the first ever champion was MVP. So it really isn't something that should change the way the World Heavyweight Championship exists when, that was Inoki's belt.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. That would be like, and maybe I'm drawing a parallel that is not right or not that you won't agree with, but that would be like, say the world reopens up again and everyone can travel around and we can do whatever we want and all of that good stuff. That would be like them amalgamating the New Japan Strong Belt, the US Strong Belt, with the US title belt, and then calling it something else and just knocking out all the people that have held that US title beforehand. Do you know what I mean? One did not equate to how important the other one was, in my mind. Anyway, the Intercontinental Championship is as many good people as held it. Like Nakamura's made his name winning that world title. He didn't make his name winning the IC belt. It was the world title that he established. And
I don't agree.
Yeah, it was a stepping stone belt. It's a stepping stone belt. That would be like when, for instance, when the Ultimate Warrior won both those titles at WrestleMania, and they just amalgamated the title, and then from then on, there was just new champions.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree that I think the history of the heavyweight title should have been maintained, but I understand why they wanted to amalgamate the Intercontinental into it, and I understand why they made the change. And I think at this point, you can't go back on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't go back.
That toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube.
No. I completely agree with that. You can't go back on it. It doesn't mean I agree with them doing it.
No. And we agree that the belt looks ugly.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I don't like it. It looks like a toy. People talk about the WWE title looking like a toy. That thing looks like a toy.
Yeah. So with that in mind, with us being grumpy about things, Todd, what's your chicken shit for this week?
That title match with Jade Cargill on that. I didn't like that at all. It was not the way to, if you're wanting to launch a new championship, you don't put someone in there who is green as grass to do it. You do Thunder Rosa and Ruby Soho, or Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, or do you know what I mean? So many other people than Jade Cargill. It's not a shot on Jade. She's just not ready yet.
And she can't make that title important. Like,
No.
I know that the idea of the tournament was to make it important, but you need a champion who makes it matter. Yeah, for me, it's the Never Openweight Championship, Evil and Ishii. When a match makes me want to turn off a show, and it's a show that's headlined by Okada and Takagi, like, I would climb over cut glass for Okada versus Shingo. Like, that is a great match. And Evil and Ishii made me want to turn off the show. It was not deserving of Wrestle Kingdom. Full stop.
Yeah, look, maybe they should just, like, I understand the whole 2-night idea and all of this sort of stuff, and it's born, like, it sort of helped or made WrestleMania go to 2 nights as well, I can imagine, just by looking at what happened in the history of it. I would rather just have 1 night and all the banger matches be on it. And that's what New Year's Dash was for. New Year's Dash was for those other matches. Like, technically, they always had the 2 nights. It was just the New Year's Dash wasn't as important a night. Do you know what I mean? Although, if you talk about it really in the scheme of things, New Year's Dash historically has been sort of important, because every time somebody was leaving, like an AJ or a Kenny, they got excommunicated on that New Year's Dash. So that sort of thing. But let's just go back to the 1 night. Wrestle Kingdom. Go back to 1 night of WrestleMania. Put all your best matches on the one show, and that's why it's the best show of the year.
If you can't give us an incredible 4-hour show that is your best show, don't just extend it out.
Yeah, don't give us a 4-hour show.
The 4 best hours you've got.
Don't give us a 4-hour show. If you can give us 3 hours of the best shit you've got, give it to us. I want to see that. If you just have 4 hours and you're going to throw some shit in there, I don't want to see it. Don't waste my time.
Yep, exactly. Onto the positives. I'm going to say my chicken salad for this week. Look, by all accounts, it should be Paige and Danielson. That match was rock sock great, and same can be said for the Wrestle Kingdom main events. Those matches were incredible. I love when something surprises me with how good it is. Carmelo Hayes and Roderick Strong came out there with, for me, 0 expectation and blew the roof off. And, like, as much as I want to reward those, absolute 5-star matches, if I was expecting 3 and you give me 4.75, that's what I love, right? I love when people go above and beyond and give me something that is great, that makes me happy, that I wasn't expecting. It's always good to see a match that is going to be great, and it's great, but it's something else when you go into a match and then all of a sudden it's great. So big ups to Roderick Strong and Carmelo Hayes. That match was awesome.
Are you ready for a complete left fielder and something you think
Here we go.
You would never hear me say on one of these shows?
Fire away, Todd.
My chicken salad for this week, and I know we cover like 2 weeks because we didn't really, or have we? I can't remember anymore. My is from the latest GCW show, and it is Joey Janela against Scotty 2 Hotty. Yeah. You never thought you'd hear me say that,
did you? Just hang on, Todd. Hold up. You're telling me we watched New Year's Evil?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Which had that awesome match. We watched AEW had Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson world title match. Then we watched 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, and you're about to put over a Scotty 2 Hotty match.
Yes, I am.
In this, the year of our Lord 2022.
Because we've all talked about that. Everyone knows about those matches. Everyone's either seen those matches or they're going to see those matches.
I like 2 goddamn Hotty.
I like going a bit deeper with my chicken salad because sometimes, and I don't make friends with salad, but you got to dig through some of the shit to get to the good chicken. And this was good. This was a really good match. It was entertaining. It was good to see someone like Scotty come out who hasn't wrestled for like, I don't know how many years now it's been, but you can see him be so very happy to be out in front of a crowd again and has not lost a step. Joey Janela did really well here, and Joey's like, he has got himself in fairly good shape now. Like I would like to see what he could do in AEW. I think the die has probably already been cast there and you won't see him get re-signed. I don't know that for a fact. Haven't heard any stories about it. I'm just imagining that there are certain guys that I think are on that subheading of when their contract comes up, let's just not call them. Like I said before, the little fella, Marco Stunt, his contract is up and it doesn't look like they're going to re-up him. There's a lot of people I think that are in that vein that when like Sonny Kiss and that sort of thing. I think they might be not long for the AEW world when their contract is up. But this whole thing with, and that I've been putting over GCW over the last few months as being that next ECW, that groundswell movement and all of that sort of stuff. The stuff that they've done with bringing the Briscoes in for their tag division, Matt Cardona, the stuff he's been doing with Effie and bringing in Chelsea and Ali Catch as well into their whole thing. All of their stuff at the moment, GCW has been really good. All of their matches are fairly, like, there's not really a bad match on that card. Even the death matches, which, like I've said before, I put over many times, I'm not a fan of the death matches. They're at least there for a reason in these shows. And that's why, like, I picked that match because I enjoyed it and I didn't expect to enjoy it. Honestly, when I saw it coming out, I was interested to see what Scotty was going to be like after the layoff that he's had. And I'm not the biggest fan of Joey Janela. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just not. But they entertain me, and I would be interested to see what Joey does again.
Credit to Joey Janela. This isn't the first time that he has showcased someone who you wouldn't think would be showcased recently. He had that match really recently with Nick Wayne on Defy, and showed off that kid is unbelievable for his age, which I don't want to say it because whatever age I say, I'll get told, no, Nick Wayne's actually younger than that. And I can't deal with it. Like he's had like 25 matches in his life. And Janela went and showcased him on Defy and lost to him. Yeah, I think that, as much as I'm also not a Janela fan, credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
showcasing
exactly.
Nick Wayne, Scotty 2 Hotty, good on him.
Yeah. So for all of those out there that say I'll reiterate it too. I don't hate AEW. I do not hate it. I like AEW. I just want it to be better. I don't hate guys like Joey Janela. I just want them to be better. It's as simple as that. It's not like I love wrestling. So why would I hate? Like, I just want people to be better. And if they're not going to be better, and if they don't want to be better, and if they think then I just don't want to see you. It's
absolutely.
And from what I can see, everyone on GCW is trying as hard as they can to be as good as they can and to really boost that promotion up. And I love to see it. I'm really, really looking forward to this Hammerstein show, which sold out in the first there was some real quick sellout for it. So the only way you can see it now is by going to Fight and paying for that pay-per-view, which is amazing. And it's something that I definitely will be doing. I definitely will be watching this GCW pay-per-view live.
Absolutely. And, you know, while you're getting online and spending some money, did you know that Wrestle Radio Australia has merch on Redbubble? Hop on over to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia. You can find our merchandise there. All the proceeds go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, two amazing charities that support men's mental health in Australia. So go over there and check that out. You can also follow us on social media at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow us at Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook. You can jump on over to wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever, and subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia. It's free. It helps us when you do hit subscribe. And if you're over on Apple Podcasts, please consider giving us a review, giving us a rating. It gets us in more ears. It really helps if you can drop us those 5 stars. It means a lot. If you want to follow us personally, let us know what you think we should be talking about. You can follow Todd at Beast Eastman. You can follow me at Lachlan Albert on Twitter for both of those. Anything else you've got kicking around to plug, Todd?
Not really. But what I was thinking is, like, we get right. There's also the shows that we always will, like, in-depth review, and that's like the PWA shows, Riot City Wrestling shows, like MCW shows. Those stuff is sort of like stuff that we will catch when they're on and review them. I want people out there that if they want to and if they can, send us some recommendations of some Aussie wrestling to watch, like full shows. I got a recommendation for a QWA show that's up on there. The only, it's not an issue, but the only thing I don't like is that, and please, QWA, if you can, next time, they put their shows up online, but they put them in like segmented matches, this thing. Just put them as a whole. Let the show stand as a whole thing, because the show isn't. How do I say this? A show
exists as a show.
Thank you. It's as good as the sum of its parts. Not to pick bits out of. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to see that whole show. I want to see the build to the main event. I want to see and
it makes stuff look better. A match in the right spot is a better match.
That's exactly right. So that's the only thing I'll say. But there is the QWA one that I'm thinking of. We might watch and review coming up soon. Also, maybe one of the Deathmatch Down Under shows that's on
absolutely.
IWTV, because I know we haven't really got to reviewing those, only because it's sort of hard to review a deathmatch. Like, because the last thing they did was the Dream tournament, I think. Oh, there might have been one since. Yeah. There might have been one since, but I'm not sure. But I'll have a look, and we'll review one of those as well coming up. But aside from that, look, I don't know what sort of a period we're entering into at the moment with this COVID Omicron thing, where like shows seem to be getting postponed left, right, and center. So I'm not sure what's going on, what will be going on coming up in the next couple of months. So if you've got recommendations of stuff that's online, like Aussie wrestling stuff, please hit us up with them, because we do want to watch them. We do want to review them. We do want to still help, as much as we talk about American wrestling here, we want to still help promote Australian wrestling around the country and around the world. So, and this is a good way to do it, I think.
And you know what? When we're going into these uncertain times, there are ways to support the local wrestling that you love. So if you're loving companies like MCW and PWA that are on Fight, when they do have a show, make sure you buy it on Fight. Support them that way. If you've got a wrestler that you love, check out wrestlermerch.com. See if they've got a store on there, because all of those profits go to those wrestlers who might not be able to get to a show this month because of whatever's going on. So support those people that you're a fan of. That, you know, that's the reason we're here at Wrestle Radio Australia. That, you know, I know for a fact the reason I'm here is because I was out there supporting those local shows, interacting with it. That's the part of wrestling that I really, truly love. So go support the people doing that thing you love in your community.
And I picked him out of obscurity and brought him into the limelight.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was all you, Todd.
Thank you.
It was all you.
Finally.
It's just a matter of time until that
Okay.
that scene where I'm Vader and I pick up the Emperor and throw him into the pit. We'll get there. But with all that said,
Oh, and by the way,
That's
too,
been-
like, sorry, before you do that, that little thing that I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube or not, or if you are watching this on YouTube, I did a little thing with it with a Virgil sort of thing. If you've noticed at the start of shows, Lachlan a bit distracted when he's trying to do his open. It's a little taste of what I do during.
Todd just constantly tries to pop me while we're doing this. He just wants me to sound unprofessional.
It's
That's all
only
he cares
because
about.
it's only because
Todd
it's
just wants to ruin his own podcast so that he sounds like the better podcaster.
it's only because
Absolutely unprofessional.
it's only because it's a one shot, and I just like while I'm doing that, I've realized I edit this so they can't see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to mess with him as much as possible now. So, so that last bit when you
So,
saw
yeah.
me doing that thing with Virgil, and when I say that for people listening, it wasn't anything dirty. I was just doing something with Virgil. Oh,
Oh, you don't
please
wanna know
end the
what you're
show.
doing.
Please end the show.
That's been Todd Eastman. I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.
This is yeah.